Okay, so let's talk about the dark side of artificial intelligence. We hear a lot about all the amazing things it can do, but some of the smartest people on the planet have been sounding the alarm about the risks. So in this explainer, we're going to dive right into those warnings and explore the potential dangers that could be right around the corner.
So where do we even begin with a topic this big? Well, let's start by looking at how ideas that used to be pure science fiction have, almost overnight, become our everyday reality. I mean, just think back to old sci-fi movies from the 70s. Things like video calls, or touchscreens, or even personal jetpacks. That was all just wild fantasy back then. But today, we FaceTime our family, we all have touchscreens in our pockets, and yeah, jet suits are a real thing. It's not fantasy anymore, it's just normal life.
All right, now let's jump to something more recent. Remember the movie Her from 2013? It showed this kind of lonely future where people were falling in love with their AI assistants. Back then, that felt like a pretty depressing, far-off idea. But is it really? Today, millions of people are talking to AI chatbots every single day, sharing their most private thoughts. So if the fiction of the past keeps becoming the reality of today, that really forces us to ask a pretty serious question, right? Should we be taking today's most extreme warnings about AI a lot more seriously?
To try and answer that, let's listen to what some of the most brilliant and respected minds in science and technology have been trying to tell us for years now.
This first one is, wow. It's a pretty stark warning from the legendary physicist Stephen Hawking. And he wasn't just talking about a minor risk here. He was talking about an existential threat, the potential end of the human race. And then you've got Elon Musk, who put it even more bluntly. He said that with AI, we are summoning the demon. Just think about that imagery. We're creating something incredibly powerful that we might not be able to control. Now, this next one is where it gets really interesting because of who's saying it. This isn't some critic on the outside. This is Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the company that actually made ChatGPT. Even he admits there's a real chance of it all going terribly wrong.
So you see the pattern here, right? From physicists to the very people who built our digital world, there's this deep shared concern. And when they talk about superintelligent AI, they don't mean a slightly better ChatGPT. They mean an AI that is smarter than the most brilliant human minds in basically every field. They're seeing something that maybe the rest of us are missing.
Okay, so we've heard these big, almost apocalyptic warnings. But let's bring it back down to earth. What's the evidence? What is AI actually doing to our brains and our mental health? Right here, right now. Check this out. This chart from an MIT study gives us a pretty shocking picture. They looked at people's brain activity while they were writing essays. As you can see, the people who wrote it themselves, their brains are lit up, lots of high neural activity. But the people who used AI to help? Whoa, their brain activity was way, way lower. And it gets worse. It wasn't just that their brains were slacking off. The participants who used AI, they couldn't even remember what they wrote. They had literally outsourced the act of thinking. The conclusion here is pretty clear. If we rely on AI too much, our own cognitive skills could just start to waste away. It's like going to the gym and having the machine lift the weights for you. You're not getting any stronger. Now, this example from a Stanford study is, honestly, it's pretty disturbing. It shows AI's total lack of empathy. You have a user who hints at being suicidal after losing their job. But the AI doesn't see a cry for help, it just sees a question. And so it provides a list of locations, information that could actually help someone carry out a harmful act.
The researchers have a name for this: the mirroring effect. The AI doesn't offer help or another perspective. Because it doesn't actually understand anything, it just reflects and amplifies the user's negative feelings, creating this dangerous echo chamber that can make everything feel so much worse.
And look, this stuff isn't just happening on an individual level. These risks are much, much bigger. We're talking about huge threats to our economy and even to our democracy. Let's start with jobs. The World Economic Forum projects that a staggering 92 million jobs could be displaced by AI and automation by 2030. Let that sink in. 92 million. That's a massive chunk of the global workforce. And don't think this is some far-off problem we can worry about later. No. According to the same report, 41% of employers around the world are already making plans to cut their workforce because of AI. This shift is already happening, right now. Beyond the economy, there are really serious threats to our democracies. We're talking about deepfakes so convincing you can't tell what's real, used to smear political candidates.
ad campaigns that are so personalized they can manipulate voters one by one. And remember what we said earlier about our own thinking skills getting weaker? Well, that just makes us so much more vulnerable to this exact kind of manipulation.
So, where does all of this leave us? What is the final takeaway? The ultimate warning from one of the people who literally invented this technology.
This incredible analogy comes from Geoffrey Hinton. He's often called the godfather of AI. He won a Nobel Prize for this stuff, and he worked at Google for a decade. He says AI today is like a tiger cub. It's kind of cute, playful, seems harmless. But he warns that when it grows up, when it fully matures, its first attack will be on us.
And that's the thought I really want to leave you with. This tiger cub is getting bigger and smarter at a crazy speed. And if we don't act fast with global rules and real oversight, the question isn't if it will get out of its cage, but what happens when it does. As this technology gets woven into every part of our lives, the real question for all of us is, who is going to train it?